Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
The first place Seahawks, baby! No, we're doing it weird again.
Wow, wild times here, going bonkers right off the bat.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
as you can see, the tone is a little bit different. That's what happens after wins. You seem to be a little bit more excited, and especially when you have a game as well played as the Seahawks put forth on Sunday. It's a lot easier to get excited about things. But before we jump into that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that's going to come in and slice and dice this breakdown like Kenneth Walker in the hole, baby. You don't know where it's going to go, but good things will probably happen. And if you're looking for a guy like that, you're looking for a guy like me, your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on X at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real _ Coach Red, TikTok at the real Coach Red. Also, find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. And if you're looking for a guy, might be a little quiet at times, might not bring the punch, but always good for an explosive play or three, like DK Metcalf this last Sunday. If you're looking for a guy like that, maybe you should be looking for a guy like Cain.
Yeah, I'm Kane. You can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, Kane0624. Also, follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. Follow us, follow us, follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
Dubs up, man. 20-point
Big
win.
dubs.
Something that hasn't happened yet for this Seattle Seahawks squad. Even though they did play well the first 3 weeks, there was not really any blowout wins. And this was the first time you saw that. And you're coming off in a
Abysmal
3-game losing
stretch.
streak. And Atlanta comes into this game on a 3-game winning streak and has been playing pretty darn good football as of late. And let's break it down by quarter. First quarter, Seahawks score 3, Atlanta scores 0. Then the Hawks put 14 on the board in the second to Atlanta's 7. 7 apiece in the third quarter. And the Seahawks finished the fourth quarter on a 10-0 run. How did we get there, Kane? Well, gosh dang it, if I didn't write down what the heck happened. Well, here we go.
Hey,
In the first quarter, Jason Myers drills a 38-yard field goal. In the second quarter, Kenneth Walker with a 20-yard touchdown run. Later in the quarter, Bijan Robinson, 5-yard touchdown run. Right before half, DK Metcalf gets a 31-yard strike from Geno Smith. Get into the third quarter, and the Falcons go down and convert on a 5-yard touchdown pass to Drake London. The Seahawks counter with a 17-yard touchdown pass to Kenneth Walker. And in the fourth quarter, you have a 64-yard fumble recovery by Derek Hall and a new Mercedes-Benz Stadium record long field goal by Jason Myers of 59 yards. And that concludes the scoring. And
so many
as
good
this game
things.
went along, especially once you got later in the third quarter, with the Seahawks holding a 10-point lead, it caused the Falcons to go in a little bit of desperation mode and kind of move away from their run game that I thought the Seahawks did a pretty good job balancing, taking away that first lane. Bijan Robinson had some
Is
nifty moves.
he's just unreal, isn't
He's
he?
shifty.
He's so good. Like there were times where I saw some dude like wrapped up around his legs and he just tumbles out like nothing happens. I heard a good comparison. He runs like Alvin Kamara does.
Yeah, similar.
And he's just, as you said, shifty. Yeah, he had a great game. He had a great game against us.
Yeah,
But they did stop Tyler Algier.
yeah. And we'll get into this a little bit more. Why don't we go to the stats first.
Yes.
Let's stick with what's been
I
working
I
so
think
well for us.
I think the first stat is the best stat of all. Gino's
Okay.
attempts.
Let's talk about our passing leaders for this game. First stat's going to be Jackson Smith and Jigba, 1 for 1 for 35 yards. I know that's what you were alluding to.
Sure.
Geno
No.
Smith, 18 for 28 on the day, 207 yards, 2 touchdown passes, and 0 interceptions.
I love 28 pass attempts. You needed to keep it lower. You had to because you were becoming one dimensional on this offense. And this week just made a lot of it didn't right the ship, but it put it in the right direction.
Well, and a lot of this too, you see when we get to the rushing attempts, you're looking at 29 total passes, and you're looking at pop one on there that carry the three, put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. 27 runs, but also they were trying to salt it away at the end. And
Yeah.
Mike McDonald did say coming out of half that he wanted to see more rushing, but what you saw on the drive right before half, where you were kind of expecting with, I think it was about 9 seconds left on the clock, and deep out route, something to get a little bit better field position, but they run a post corner reversed, a copo,
Yeah,
if I,
and
I like to call it. So
DK
DK Metcalf just ends up getting, and you get a dart from Gino.
it almost triple coverage.
Yeah. And then the catch by Kenneth Walker from Gino
Yeah,
was amazing. Not very many
and
running backs are making that catch.
and to also big ups to Noah Fant
We're
this
not
week.
even two.
Right on that drive, dude. It was going up, and Gino had to sprawl out, hit him on the run, low pointed him, and it put them in position to score at half.
The other big stat that we'll talk about, which call it in the passing game, Geno Smith only takes 1 sack in this game. You could call it two with the intentional grounding
Yeah.
because it doesn't count as a sack, but it very well could have been, and you have the exact same result. So with the offensive line and down to fourth stringer Mike Jarrell, who we'll talk about later, I'm sure. To
Oh,
Gino, I will say he was pressured quite a bit in this game still, but he manipulated the pocket a lot better.
yes.
His line did give him the pocket and then opened up the lanes for him to keep his eyes downfield and
He also
get
didn't have
some rushing
happy
yards
feet
as well.
this week. He was cool, calm, and composed. Every throw he made, his feet were planted. He was ready to get rid of the ball. He got it out quick at times. He just pretty much did everything that you needed him to do this week, and that's exactly what I said. I talked about it at length last week that we needed to stop throwing the ball so much because it's just becoming predictable at this point. And Gino did a good job at hitting his targets. DK's got to get the better hands for some of these. There was some he could have caught, but still a big day out of both of them. I hope they keep this trend going. They do got a tough road ahead. I just like what I saw from Gino this weekend.
And JSN gets bailed out by his buddy DK a little bit because he throws a little bit of a floater. DK Metcalf just shows off the
Oh,
athleticism to
dude,
make
I
a
was.
sprawling, falling backwards catch and still high points it in front of the corner. So let's head over to the rushing attack. Happy birthday, Kenneth Walker. Happy
Big game.
24th, Big Cat. He had a day on his birthday. 14 carries for 69 yards and a tutty. You have Sharbs with 7 carries for 14 yards. Gino clocked in with 4 carries for 15 yards. And Kane McIntosh got a carry in this game, but I didn't write down how many yards it was. I believe it
Five.
was 2.
Five.
Okay, 5.
I need more out of Sharp. I need more than 14 yards.
Well, the other thing is Sharp out snapped Kenneth Walker because Kenneth Walker was dealing with the flu late in the week. So it was a real game time decision whether he would go. And you would think with that, he might get a little bit more involved in the passing game. But with Sharp specifically, his ability to pick up the blitz and help maintain that pocket, I think has really been a key
Huge.
spot for this team. Yes, he can still catch the ball, might be able to get a chip and go get some after the play. But yeah, I would like to see a little bit more yards per carry out of Sharp.
I
But
don't need
he
7 for 14.
but he's gonna go just downhill, and that's what you expect. There was a couple of times where he tried to bounce and then just kind of got bottled up. I
Yeah.
want to see that one cut and go, make your decision, inflict a little pain, get that average up to 3, potentially 4 yards.
Yeah, because I mean, this offense needs him to succeed like that as well. We can't just have all of the weight on K9's shoulders. He carries it well, he really does. But just to give that relief and keep that run game going, because it just seems like when Sharp's in there, it's either he gets a yard or two, and that's just about it. And if the hole doesn't open up perfectly for him, he can't hit it.
Yep.
So
Top over to the receivers in this game. DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 99 yards and a touchdown. Noah Fant, 4 catches for 65 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett,
he did
or
not
no
have a
touchdown.
touchdown.
Sorry, I just love saying touchdown so much that it just rolled off the tongue. Tyler Lockett, 4 catches for 45 yards. K9, 2 catches for 24 yards and a touchdown. And JSN, 3 catches for 9 yards.
I I really want JSN to get the ball in his hands a little bit more.
If we're going to start there, I was going to say what really grinds my gears is JSN led the wide receiver group in snaps played
Mm-hmm.
and had 3 catches. Yes, he had the trick play with him throwing that 35-yard pass,
Cool.
but
I mean,
he's got to get incorporated more. But what I do like is you're seeing the yardage spread around pretty decently, especially when you look at your top 3 guys. Noah Fant's a guy who I think has been very key to this run and progressing in that tight end game. Scott the Thought was talking to me today and just said, how are Colby Parkinson and Will Disley doing for their respective teams? And when you look at their numbers, Parkinson's having a little bit more receiving success than Will Disley.
mm-hmm.
Will Disley, a little bit more of a well rounded blocking type, where Parkinson is your guy that goes out and gains some yard. But Noah Fant's outpacing both of them in yards and catches.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of grumbling, even by us a little bit, for letting both of them walk. But no fans really put that
He's
step
turned it
up.
around.
You
He
saw DK
has.
Metcalf get a key pass interference call on him on the first drive. He made a couple just acrobatic, dynamic catches, and then he gets the strike.
Yep.
And exits the game early with the knee injury. It looks like it's an MCL. He's going to be week to week. But this is a guy where he hadn't been very happy the last couple weeks. And you saw him in this game having a little fun. The battle with Terrell was a fun watch. I love
Was.
just the block on the K9 one, just one handed, just grabbing him right at the chest plate.
No, they were going at it all game, and it was fantastic. DK got the better of him. It seemed like for a good part of it. Like I said, there were a couple. I know that he had him by a step, and Terrell got the hand on it. Maybe if DK's up the field just one more step or a half a step at that point, he catches it. And then there's that one late where he was diving forward, it hit him in the forearms, and then bounced off.
The one where he caught
But
it on the sideline, got pushed out of bounds. Like
that
DK,
one was insane.
DK Metcalf was putting in work, and Tyler Lockett just being all reliable. He pops up when you need him the most. And
Yeah.
I think for the progression of this team, because you are seeing Lockett not as involved, he's not on the field as much as he has been in years past. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that JSN does need to take that step. And I think that the rapport is there with Gino. I just
It's
think that,
just Gino's gotta get him the ball
well, and I think they
when it
need
comes
to
down to it at
work
the end
on
of
the
the day.
route tree because a lot of his catches still, I mean, when you get 3 for 9 yards, it's not the best day at the office. And
No.
you really saw what he could do when they played the Patriots, right? That was a huge game, first game over 100 yards for him, and you thought that was going to be the coming out party, and just hasn't lived up like we
No.
expected it to. But You know what? I'm not going to be mad about what the wide receivers did when you have a 20-point win.
Right. Also, dude, the O line played way better this week,
I mean, there was still a lot of pressure being put on Gino,
but he
but
handled it well.
yes, I thought his pocket presence was awesome. Let's talk about Mike Jarrell right now.
Oh man, dude, did he play one hell of a game?
Well, if you look at it, I know that the sack was off of him.
Mm-hmm.
He did, I think, allow 5 or 6 pressures.
Yep.
And on the intentional grounding call, I think that was a win by the player that was lined up outside of him. But this is a late round guy coming from Division 2 football, Finlay in Ohio. I mean, for him
Yeah.
to step in, and there were a lot of very good reps because they kept highlighting it on the broadcast, which I loved to see. And
Mm-hmm.
when you look at, I seem to see better things when Christian Haynes is on the field, but he was out snapped 75% to 25% by Anthony Bradford. You're seeing Connor Williams seem to settle in a little bit more.
Yep.
Lakin Tomlinson had probably this was one of his better games, in my opinion. And then Charles Cross, he played phenomenal the first 3 games and pretty poor. I think that he's somewhere in the middle right now, and you hope that he can get back to that first couple of week form. And good news on the tackle front. It sounds like Abe Lucas could be getting back to practice this week. He probably will need a ramp up time of 2 to 3 weeks to get that full time
He
when his
most
IR
likely
window
won't be
opens.
back until after the
The bye.
break. Yeah, after the bye. And most likely the same thing as George Fant as well. He's working back right now, and I believe he is also expected to be back after the bye week. And I think we get Uchenna Nwosu back and possibly Reek back this week. Not Uchenna this week, but after the bye.
Yeah,
Um,
it'll be interesting to see how Reek and Trey Brown progress because let's get into the defense right now. You
yep.
came into this game missing 3 starters in your secondary. Reek is out, Trey Brown is out, and Rayshawn Jenkins hit the IR. Artie Burns, who came up, hit the IR. So I half expected them to run Kayvon Wallace as your nickel a little bit more, put Spoon on the outside. No, they bring in Josh Jobe and let him get some run. I thought he played a pretty solid game overall. When
Yeah.
and Nehemiah Pritchett.
Yep. Both
But
played a pretty good game.
I sat there and it was the worst time because I was thinking it. I was like, man, if they aren't talking about the corners, they had a good day. And right after that happened, Josh Jobe got hit for a PI and then gave up a catch underneath. Same thing with Nehemiah Pritchett. And I'm like,
But the PI got picked up because it was offensive PI and they had him, and even Witherspoon was freaking out about it because Job fell on that play.
I'm talking about the go route where they try to say that it was uncatchable.
Ah,
It's because he popped him and then another catch right underneath him. Then Nehemiah Pritchett. Nice try, Kane.
well,
But
it was the then it was the crosser
yeah.
that got mixed up with Drake London.
And then Kobe Bryant gets to start,
Oh, he
and
played so well.
Kobe Bryant leads the team in tackles 11, 7 solos, and his first career pick.
Dog.
Julian Love, 9 tackles, 4 solos, 1 interception as well. And
Mm-hmm.
you had Leonard Williams, Draymond Jones, Boye Mafe, all with the sack. Mafe's is a strip sack that leads to a touchdown. And those were
Oh,
really the guys to highlight because they're like we said, Bijan still did some things, but for to limit this wide receiving core with the likes of London, Mooney, Pitts, Bijan coming out of the backfield,
mm-hmm.
basically down almost your whole secondary. It was great to
I
see.
mean, yeah, especially coming off of a 3 week heater like they have, and the Seahawks have gone on that 3 week skid. The defense played amazing. You could tell the difference in the D line. They actually throw Draymond Jones out as a edge this week, which was something good to see. That one drive where he got Kirk and he threw it in his face and he batted it down. And next play, Derek Hall comes out, bumps him. Draymond cuts the guards and gets the
Gets a sack.
sack in back-to-back plays. It was great to see. I mean, the pressure is there now with Sebastian Day on this roster, right? With because you really have to put the pressure on Draymond Jones to ramp it up. We paid him some good money to play a good edge, and he hasn't showed it until these last couple of weeks. It seems like he's starting to uptick in usage and production, which is great to see because you can't keep running Boye Mafe at full speed like that. That dude is a menace.
Yeah. And getting Byron Murphy back helped. I saw a
Yeah.
stat that said when Brian Murphy is in Byron Murphy is in the lineup, the opposing team averages like 17 points a game. When he's out of the lineup, they average over 30. So it was good having him back and being able to
Mm-hmm.
disrupt a little bit. But this game really turned during that
Third quarter.
Draymond Jones batted down, sack. Then the next drive is the pick. Then the next drive is the fumble recovery for a touchdown. And then the next drive is another pick. So the Seahawks that hadn't really been getting turnovers defensively end up
At
forcing
four.
three in three consecutive series is huge. And them not turning the ball over on offense really was able to salt this game away pretty early in the fourth quarter. As soon as that strip sack happened, I mean, Cousins is fuming. Michael Penix gets a little bit of run in this game at the very end in blowout
Yeah, but he didn't
fashion.
he didn't do anything except hand the ball off. That was it.
He did complete at least one pass. He has the best
Didn't
completion percentage out of all rookie quarterbacks at 100%.
didn't Job have an interception too? No, he
No,
didn't. I thought he did. But yeah, it was a great game defensively. A lot of good things that we saw. I love that tandem of Kobe Bryant and Julian Love, man. That's what I keep saying. Whenever Kobe Bryant is on the field, things happen.
I wouldn't mind seeing him play a little bit of nickel if people get
Mhm.
back, but I like the thump I get from Rayshawn Jenkins a little bit
Right, of
more. It
course.
allows you to play Julian a lot more at that free position instead of having
Yes.
to switch up and come in the box because Kobe a little undersized. And you saw that when he flew in on Bijan and he bounced off pretty
Yeah.
easily. So
Yeah.
Rayshawn Jenkins coming down that hill might be a
Well,
different
different.
outcome,
Yeah.
right? But he still ended with 7 solo tackles. He did come up and make some big hits and some big plays. Like we said,
Mhm.
11 tackles, 7 solos with the INT was good to see. I felt like Julian Love was flying all around the field. Same thing with Spoon. I saw good things out of Terrell Dotson. Jerome Baker, I believe, was third on the team in tackles. It didn't feel like it watching the game. And I'm kind of pining for some Tyrese Knight, man.
Yeah. I I think Tyrese Nice will be real special.
But when you see this defensive line, like you said, with the trade and the reinforcement that came in and getting Byron Murphy back, getting a healthier Boye Mafe and Derek Call is key. And I think that you're really seeing a change from Draymond Jones, especially in the last couple of weeks. He's
Yes.
popping more on film, which is what we've been pining for a year and a half.
Yeah, and I I talked a lot about it at work this last week about coming into this game that they needed to have that time of possession kind of in their favor, right? And yes, Atlanta had 31 minutes and the Hawks had 28 practically, right? A lot of that was well, we got turnovers and we just marched down the field or
Yep.
just gave it right back, um, later in the game. The game was out of hand anyway by the end of the third. Didn't really matter about time of possession, but I'm glad it was more equal than it was anything else because when they get the 20 minutes of football, it's not good. They don't win.
Yeah. No, and so an overall game, like all phases, you had Myers perfect, and nailing a 59-yarder. You had Michael Dixon, who I thought had a pretty darn good game punting the football. So your special teams worked out pretty well on the returns. A couple good returns by D. Williams and Laviska
and
Chenault.
kept their
So
hands on the ball.
I
Loved it.
liked the special teams play offensively, no turnovers, not, high octane offense by any stretch of the means, but it was good to see DK bounce back. It was good to see K9 do what he did on his birthday, and it was good to see Gino get a little bit more settled. And then defensively, I was worried about this secondary, but as the game turned on and you made them more one dimensional, where they couldn't go back to their biggest asset, which was running the football, being
Mhm.
able to up the pressure. I believe that the Seahawks clocked in with a 55% pressure rate in this game to be able to get picks from the leader of your defense, Julian Love, and also Kobe Bryant, who was the king. He was like the next Peanut Tillman, knocking balls out people's hands his rookie year. But it was good to see him get in the game, get involved, and they won this game across the board.
Yeah, they hands down. Absolutely shut them down. Because what, it was a Drake London touchdown and a Bijan touchdown. That
Yep.
was it. And then, the plus side, they only kicked 2 field goals this game.
Mm-hmm.
I
Touchdowns are
love
fun.
it. Yeah. It was a great time.
All right, Kane, who's your offensive player of the game?
I think my offensive player of the game this week was Kenneth Walker. The dude is just unreal. Had about 90 all-purpose yards, one receiving, one rushing touchdown. He's an absolute difference maker, right? He had long runs, medium runs, made dudes miss. And the thing I love about Kenneth Walker too is he has that it factor in him, right? I've seen him break so many tackles, and the yard after contact is just kind of unreal from him. What he did this week was absolutely outstanding. It really helped the Seahawks get the ball really moving, and all the play actions afterwards had him kind of fooled. So they did it right. Kenneth Walker was my player of the game this week. Coach Red, who's yours?
Mike Gerald, baby.
I love it. I love it. He had a fantastic game
For
by
someone
all
for
means.
someone in his situation, I was half expecting they were going to bring Jason Peters up and have him play right tackle again. But I'm glad that they went with Gerald. He made this team out of camp. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
the 1 week thing. I think this guy has a ton of potential. We've talked about it a few times, and I called for it in the last game. I said Stone Forsyth needs to sit down. Unfortunately, that has to come due to injury. But I do think that what you saw to Gerald, and I know it's early and it's one game. There's going to be more tape on him. You're going to be able to see some things that he didn't do as well. So it's going to be an interesting matchup this upcoming week with a team that has a little bit more premier pass rush than
Mm-hmm.
the Falcons. So, but being able to step in and having the most complete game of offense that you had, a lot of it was because Gino was upright. And I know he wasn't the sole reason for that. And he was even the one that gave up the sack. But
Yep.
I do think that having a guy that came from D2 fighting for a roster spot, makes the roster, stays on the roster, makes his first start in the NFL, a sixth rounder tackle is not expected to play his rookie
Mm-hmm.
year. I'll tell you that right now. And for him to come out and have the type of performance he did, it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the
Nope.
imagination, but it was more consistent than what we have been seeing.
And he was
And
pushing guys out, controlling that pocket for Gino to move. Like, that was the best part of it all.
yes, so give me Mike Gerald as my offensive MVP of the game.
Love it.
Not
I
what you'd
love it.
expect.
I love it.
Caden, who was your defensive player of the game?
Kobe! Dude, he just played unreal, right? He was flying around, as we said, 11 tackles on the day, and 7 of them were by himself. It's pretty impressive out of your second, third string, because they run Kayvon out there too.
Yeah.
Safety is this is a guy I've been calling for since he was drafted to get more play time. And unfortunately Trey Brown beat him out, right?
Yep.
Uh Kobe has been a menace every time he's on the field. This week he put it on full display. He didn't peanut punch a ball out, but he picked one, and it was awesome to see. Give me more Kobe time. I'd love to see it. Coach Red, who's your defensive player of the game?
I think that this isn't going to be mine, but I think you got to give love to the safety position as a whole because
Yeah, they both
combined
played.
between him and Julian Love, they were at 20 tackles and 2 INTs, and they were both all over the field. So I
Yeah.
think if you would have called out the full safety room, I would have given it to you. But give me Draymond Jones as my defensive player of the game because the tide really started to turn when he had that batted down pass and then got the sack right after. We've been
Yeah.
seeing those splash plays more and more. And to get the production that we've been seeing out of him, especially the last couple of weeks, is going to be key to how this team progresses. And in this Mike McDonald defense, that at times we've seen it look a little bit more complex, right? But getting those guys to fit into those holes, making this jigsaw puzzle go together. Having a healthy Leonard Williams was key. I thought the defensive line as a whole played pretty darn well and did a good job of pursuing and cutting off the angles for Bijan. He was just athletic to make some nifty cuts that really hampered some of
Mm-hmm.
what could have been a bigger blowout. But I do think that Draymond Jones, for getting the party started, it seemed like on that defensive turnover where they just became a juggernaut for three drives
Yes.
in a row. So I think that that was the big turning point. And give me Draymond Jones.
Love it.
All right. Next game, playing at home versus the Bills. The Bills
It's
come in at
tough.
5-2.
They're tough.
Josh Allen, I would say, is playing near an MVP level again. He's sitting there with 12 TDs, no picks, which is the big thing that caught my eye. He's got almost 1,500 yards of passing. He's also had 38 carries for 179 yards and 3 touchdowns. So accounting for 15 touchdowns for them offensively, he's going to be a tough nut to crack.
And it's going to be a tough matchup to begin with, right? They just went out and got Amari Cooper. So now you got another week of practice with him and Josh Allen to kind of get more right. Keon Coleman's starting to catch a little more fire. You probably are getting James Cook back. So the big thing is this week, I think this is a spy game. You have to run a spy. Josh Allen is amazing.
Yeah,
And
I think that Dotson's probably going to be my best candidate for a
mhm,
spy, and I wouldn't mind, especially with the way this game plays, seeing a little bit more of Tyrese Knight. I think he's a little bit more athletic and playing the pass game than Jerome Baker. I think Jerome Baker is going to be a little bit more your thumper, but you're going to have to run. I think you're gonna have to run Dotson as the spy. Unfortunately, let his old teammate try and go get some licks, right?
yep.
Um, so I would like that, especially because the Bills team are a team that have gotten better, if you will, at being a little bit more balanced. But James Cook, I know he's missed some time, is pacing this team with 82 carries total on the year
Mhm,
through 7 games.
yep.
So not a high average there. And Josh Allen, he's just a playmaker with the ball in his hands. So
Yep.
being able to pick your poison a little bit, being able to hopefully get healthier, right? Hoping
Mhm.
to see your starting corners back this week would be very nice. But defensively, they're not really slouches either. So you've got the tandem of Gregory Rousseau and Von Miller, who both have over 3 sacks on the year. You got big names, you got a lot of experience there. Their DBs have gotten 7 picks on the year so far, averaging one a game.
And
And
it's a
they've,
whole cast of characters too.
yeah,
That it's not who you think it is,
exactly. There's a lot of guys there that have left this team in years past, right?
right?
Some
Because
of those
they
bigger names,
like the
but
Jordan Poyers or the Tre'Davious Whites, like they're no longer there.
yeah, they're doing it with the whole cast. Amir Hamlin has 2 picks on the year. So this is the team that's going to come into town and really
Mhm.
took care of business last week against the Titans, which, let's be honest, to be expected. But this is a team that you really got to pop them in the mouth and you do need to fluster Josh Allen. I think this is a key game for your defensive line as a whole to be stout and putting pressure in the pocket and getting home and inflicting some damage, because that's where you see Allen get a little bit more flustered when he's got a lot of pressure and he takes a few hits. He becomes a little bit more cavalier with the football, and that's going to bode well in the Seahawks' favor, especially if they can force some turnovers in this game and keep that interception train going and
I just
get
want to see more
Josh
sacks.
Allen his first of the year.
I want to see more sacks. I want to see more pressure out of the defensive line. Just kind of keep that momentum going of this last week, right? I would like to see Draymond try to hit home more. Boy, Mafe get in his face and not let him get out and about, right? It's when he has to drop back and swing around is when he gets the most dangerous. And if we can prevent that, then we're in for a good time.
And I think offensively, continue to spread the wealth offensively. Not sure if DK is going to be able to go. So you're looking at probably more playtime from the likes of Jake Bobo, LaVisca Chenault, Tariq Young, getting a little bit more play. But what I really like to see is continuing to get big chunk plays with Noah Fant in your tight end room, and then
Yeah.
also getting a little bit more incorporation of JSN. And then hopefully you can be around 40-60 run to pass, 40% run, 60% pass, and really make this a game where you're staying more balanced and keeping them off guard and can see a lot more in the play action game.
Again, let's run this back, right? Let's have his maximum attempts at 35. Let's not go past that, because it seems when you go past that limit with Geno Smith, it's just, it's not college, right? You can't keep running a college scheme. So some assets, right? Some
Yeah.
assets of the game. So if we can keep that at 35 attempts and just let the running backs do what they do, right? I'm also counting like the little pitches and stuff that he does too to the running backs. I kind of feel like those are kind of runish game type of deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to see this progression, because you finally saw what this team could do when they can actually sustain a drive.
Yep.
So let's run it back.
Yeah, we're just going to run back this slogan. Why don't you give us a little follow on social media? You can find me, your boy, Coach Red, on X at The Real Coach Red, on Instagram at The Real _ Coach Red, TikTok at The Real Coach Red. Also, find the show over on YouTube. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, and leave a comment or two. Cain, where you at?
You can find me over on Twitter, Kane2406, TikTok, Kane0624. Also follow the show's socials over on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Red Pod. False. Do it, freaking do it.
And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.